Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to show you how to easily speed paint 6mm Napoleonic Prussians. So if you're short on time but still want to create impressive miniatures and get your army on the table fast, this video is for you. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel, and please leave some comments down below on things you'd like to see next. Anyway, let's get into it. So with the Prussians, I start off with a grey primer just as my base coat. And I like to stick all of the strips onto like a popsicle stick, or I do have like a DIY holder, which is a lump of wood with an old plant label on it. I'll maybe show that in another video sometime. But yeah, I like to get them all lined up, kind of like I do with the Warlord Games ones, painting on the sprue. I find it's easier to have all of your miniatures all together. It's much easier to do everything at the same time. First off, we're going to go for the tunics, and we're going to use Midnight Blue from Game Colour. It's quite a dark blue. Sometimes you might want to use a slightly lighter colour when you're doing smaller miniatures, just so that they stand out slightly more from a distance. But the Prussian blue was pretty dark, so if you're going for accuracy rather than view, or appearance I should say, then this is a pretty good colour for them. So you could just plaster it over the whole thing and then clean up later. I'm just starting off by trying to just paint the blue of the tunic itself, so the arms, the torso, the back, etc. These miniatures do have a bedroll, or maybe it's a greatcoat, but sort of slung across their chest, and I've avoided painting that just to let the grey show through, because in most of the source material, those cloaks or rolls, whatever they are grey, but if you're going just even for faster time than I am here, then I would say just paint straight across them and then clean it up at a later date. Either option works well. And the beauty of the 6mm is that if you do make mistakes, for the most part you're really going for bulk and mass appearance rather than individual detail. So if one of them has a splodged face, let's say, it doesn't really matter, because you're not looking at the individual, you are looking at the mass, so they are very nice from that perspective. And it's actually quite nice painting up some 6mm again. I haven't done any for quite a while, so yeah, I'm enjoying it. Next up, once we've just left that for a few minutes to dry, we're going to do the breeches / trousers. We're also going to do the slung greatcoat, and we're using uniform grey from Army Painter. Yes, Army Painter. It goes on pretty nicely and has good coverage, so yeah, I do like this one. I've also used it on the Confederate soldiers when I was painting them, and also Germans for World War II. So I guess Prussians suits the German theme. But anyway, yeah, it's good colour, covers nicely. So I think I mentioned in one of the other videos that I used to have a Prussian army, and in the move they all went missing. Same for the British cavalry, they went missing. So I ordered a lot of troops to rebuild those two armies. And then my sister just one time called up, and they'd been sorting through in their attic, and she said, "I found a box with your name on it." And so I drove around a few days later, and lo and behold, there was the whole Prussian army and the British cavalry. So I've got lots and lots and lots of miniatures now which need painting, but I don't actually need. So what I am going to do with them is start a Russian and Austrian army, and just do a bit of editing on the figures, and then that way, yeah, I'll be able to actually create two new armies, which would be quite interesting. They might not be 100% accurate, but at 6mm you can't really tell the difference anyway, which is kind of what I'm telling myself anyway. So look out for those videos in the coming weeks, and let me know what you think. And if needs be, I can always buy some official Austrians and some official Russians, but I think they'll work out quite nicely. I've got some good ideas. So yeah, I think it's always worthwhile when you're doing a project to get some source material. There's a lot of good books and references online, and that way you've got some ideas as to what you're going to be aiming at. Next up, we're doing the muskets and their rucksacks, and we're going to use leather brown from Game Colour. Again, here I'm going for the lighter brown. I could go for chocolate brown from Model Colour, but I find on the small miniature 6mm it's a bit too dark, especially when you've got a dark tunic already, so this just allows a little bit of contrast between the two and it stands out quite nicely. So I do also have some of the Warlord Games Prussians, Epic Battles, Waterloo, to do, and so I haven't forgotten about those. I know a couple of you have asked for those videos. I will be getting up to it eventually. I've just got quite a few projects that I'm trying to get through of my own list, but also from other people's requests at the same time, so don't worry, it is on my list. At the moment I think the list goes up to video 187 and we're at, I think, video 98, so as you can see there's quite a lot in the pipeline, and we will get round to them in time, basically. Now I'm not sure if anyone's been to see Napoleon yet. I did. I went last night, and to be honest with you, I was rather disappointed. Whilst the first chunk of the film, actually, I won't go into it right now because I don't want to leave spoilers that could ruin it for you, but yeah, let's just say the uniforms, very impressed with. Overall, I didn't notice any glaring mistakes. My dad did point out on one of the French uniforms that they'd got the wrong colour cuffs, but I didn't notice it, so yeah, pretty good. Oh yes, just there, bayonets I do in silver from Game Colour as well, just again it's quite bright and easy going. And then for the flesh, hands and faces, we use flat flesh from Tamiya Colour. But yeah, as I was saying, in the Napoleon film, uniforms, pretty spot on overall, so no complaints there. It's just other areas. In a week or so, once everyone's had a chance to go and see it, then I'll give my review on what I thought, and unfortunately it's rather scathing, which is very disappointing for me because I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and yeah, I was hoping it was going to be amazing, but definitely got to go back to the Rod Steiger Waterloo if you want to have a good Napoleonic film, or War and Peace. And I'm always quite surprised, the Prussians did have quite nice looking uniforms actually. You always think of Prussians as just sort of being grey, but the blue itself actually stands out nicely, especially with bright colours like yellows, etc., which they often have as their cuffs. I think anyway, it's quite a smart uniform. Anyway, so next we've got the black, so we've got boots and what else is there? Boots, ammunition pouches, their shakos or headdress. Quite a few different parts on them that need to be done in black. And we're using black from Game Colour. So it does, I've mentioned before, come out with a little bit of shine, which I'm okay with because when you're doing leather work, it kind of looks like it's being polished rather than just dull. But then again, maybe you'd say if they've been marching in the field for weeks, maybe it wouldn't be shiny anymore, but I'd like to think that standards were upheld as far as possible. So, and if not, well, never mind. I like my troops to be parade ground ready anyway. So, but again, as I said, with 6mm, that's the beauty of them. You can do it pretty quickly. I mean, here there's 4 on a strip and 24 to a base. That's how I do them. 3 strips of 4 in the front rank, 3 strips of 4 in the rear rank, 24 in total, and then I use that to represent usually a battalion, or it depends on what scale or what type of game you're playing. It could represent a battalion, it could represent a brigade, potentially a division. In some of our games, we use 2 bases, just where we've got more space. 2 bases represent a battalion, because that gives you a little bit of flexibility in putting them into a column formation or a line formation or what have you. So at this stage, I gave them a dark brown wash, and just let that dry. It was a nice warm day, so they dried pretty fast. And then it was time to just go back over the miniatures with the original colours, but just to highlight. So yeah, so I just go over with the original grey, but just pick out the front of the legs, and I'd go over the facing colours on their cuffs in red, which I haven't actually done up till this point. I just do it on the final stage. Why waste the time? It's just going to get dulled down later anyway, so things like that. If the flesh needs it, you could go over that, but it being quite a bright flesh tone, I didn't feel I needed to. There's also the sort of cap badges on their shakos, which are brass. Actually, on these ones they weren't brass; they were white. It was more like sort of a little floret. Yeah, I'll actually have to look into exactly what it was, but in the imagery it was white rather than brass. That's what I've done them as, white, just a white spot in between. I also did sort of lace on their backpacks, just in white. And anything that you want to do at this stage just to make them a little bit more interesting. I tend to put a little bit more detail on the 3 bases that I'm going to be using for the rear rank, and a little bit more detail on the front 3 bases, which I'm going to use for the front rank, but overall there's not a huge amount of difference. But I really enjoyed painting these chaps, and I now have my Prussian army back, so I will be touching it up, because most of them I painted when I was about 14, I believe, back in about 2004. So yeah, it would be good to get them freshened up. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope it's useful, and watch out for some video updates on how the Prussian army, Russian army and Austrian army come along. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks guys.